Hello and welcome to the Women's Network. I'm Elke and I'm your host. I want to invite you to a terrific show today. Lots of entertainment, singing, and so much more. So for those of you who have not settled down, please do so. You don't want to miss a minute. And what you just saw in the credits, that's what we're going to see today. More of it and more of it. Dusty Springfield. But was it Dusty or was it our guest we have on our show? She has worked on her one-woman show for 3 years, and now we can see it in theaters. So if you haven't seen it, go out and see it. It's the hit. It's the hit of the town right now. Dusty Springfield, her life, her music. So without much further ado, let me introduce you to our guest, Kirsten Holly Smith. Kirsten,
hello.
So good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I tell you, it was a delight. You are something. I mean, you can really belt it out. The show is great. The monologue is great. You look great. What else can I tell you? And every review I've read was just this. I mean, it was terrific. What did you do? I mean, what prompted you to go and work on this project, Dusty Springfield, when you don't look like you've even been around long enough to be part of her entourage?
It was her music and her voice first, and then her courage, and second, I think she was just such a powerful woman, and I was looking for a piece that I could develop for myself, and it just happened that she came to mind, and I started to research her, and her story is so incredibly magnificent and so rich and full of life, full of living, and so many details. And she is an onion, because the more you start to learn about her, the more you want to learn. And she has such a huge book of music because it's a 30-year career. So you could spend weeks and weeks listening to her music and still you have more to listen to. It's amazing.
But again, my question is, I mean, you must have been a very young child.
I was.
When you heard her songs, or, I mean, did it stick with you, or did it?
What's funny is I have friends who are my age who come to the show. I mean, it's really wonderful because it sort of spans generation gaps. I have young and older people coming to the show, and most of the people who don't even know her music are like, I knew every song except maybe two, right? Or they're like, I knew that song, I knew that song. And what's interesting about Dusty Springfield is that her songs are in mass consciousness. Did I start really learning about her detailed life until I decided to do the show? Not really. I didn't know much about her. But I started to research her, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this woman is so fascinating. She was the first in so many ways, the first female pop star to produce her own music. She didn't read music. She had just this wonderful ear, and she grew up. Her father was a frustrated musician, and he would literally tap the rhythm of a song onto the back of her hand, and she would have to guess what song it was by his tapping. Oh. And that was her experience with music. And her brother, they had a music room dedicated to just playing music and different instruments, and she sang in lots of different languages, and her brother studied lots of different cultures, and so they had this group called the Springfields, which was very popular right before her solo career, and they did all kinds of different sounds. And she just, she has such a rich life that it's really an easy translation into story. I mean, and that was the most important thing, I think, for anybody. If you go see a play or you go see a movie, you want to focus on the story and what is the story of the character and what moves you about them. And this story just happens to have a wonderful music involved in it. And I think Son of a Preacher Man is her signature song, and so you have that, and it's like, it's an amazing, amazing song, but Aretha Franklin didn't want to record it, so that's why it got passed on to Dusty Springfield through Atlantic Records.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she passed on it. And then Aretha recorded it, and she does a phrasing that's different than what Dusty does, and Dusty has always been like, she didn't want to sing it after that, after she heard Aretha do the phrasing of Son of a Preacher Man. So it's very interesting. I mean, she's just in awe of black music and in the 60s at the time, American music.
Well, first of all, I think you did an amazing job just researching it. Like you said, I mean, with Dusty, you peel off. She's like an onion. There's more to come and more to come and more to come. And what's so amazing, too, I mean, she's still like an icon out there. And but again, back to you. You're an actress. You are a producer. You are a writer. I mean, and you wrote this play. I mean, that is you spend a lot of time. I mean, this is like your life thing right now, right?
Yes, it is definitely my life's focus right now. And I wasn't a writer, you know, quote unquote. I wrote songs. I actually played guitar and wrote songs, but I wasn't, you know, a screenwriter or a playwright. But what I did was started very simply and started writing monologues, researching, and then started writing monologues about Dusty's life. And through that, I was working at the University of Southern California at the time, which has a very wonderful screenwriting program, and I happened to be the assistant of the chair of the division there.
Great.
So it all worked out.
I got
a grant. I applied for a grant through USC, which helped with funding the show and getting the charts, which obviously cost a little money. And so I started writing, and I had mentors at USC. So it was amazing. I had mentors, and my life partner's also a screenwriter. So it just helped. Like, I got better and better and better at writing. And then I brought somebody in to help me formulate sort of the song to the music, which his name is Aaron Coleman, and he did a wonderful job with that. And then on this production, they brought in an additional material by writer Patricia Cotter, who did the Breakup Notebook, which she was phenomenal, and just, you know, so I've had a lot of help with mentoring the process, but it's just been a wonderful, I've become a much better writer because of it.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I just had to.
You're also a singer. You have been in musicals, and you have sung yourself. And so, and in this particular production, you sing. I mean, was that hard to emulate Dusty Springfield? I mean, he is this big icon. I mean,
yes. I mean huge shoes to fill. Huge shoes to fill.
You sing something like 13 songs, and I tell you, would talk about people hum to songs. I was humming to almost every song, and you're so right. I mean, you know, there are certain generations, and there's one generation that knows pretty much every song, and you sit in the audience and say, oh, there it is. And even before, I mean, you hear a couple tones and you already go off. And
yeah, absolutely. You're sort of tapping your foot.
How did you get into her persona as far as singing? Because I did walk out and I said, my God, she sounded just like it. I mean, how did you? I think
I do capture it in areas. I think there's. I don't think Dusty really can ever be truly emulated. I think that she is a very unique voice, and I honestly don't think there'll be anybody that can sing like her in the rest of time. And you know, what I try to do is bring my voice, and I do. Sort of emulate some certain sounds that she does. I think it's also difficult because she has a very smoky quality to her voice, a dusty quality, and so you try to overlay that a little bit. But I also am not a smoker, and she was. Yeah. So you know, just by that, I can't really get that incredible, you know, smoky quality that she had. And I don't want to start smoking, so you know, that alone. But I do bring, you know, my quality to it. So I think that there's somewhere in the middle, but they're just huge shoes to fill. And you know, I think that I try to do the best I can. I've been singing my whole life. I mean, since I was 8. You know, I've been taking lessons. So it's something that I've always done. But I too have had a hard time finding my niche because I have a soulful quality to my voice, and I think that's what brought me to Dusty. Is she had a very soulful quality to her voice, and in England, I think it was like, wow, they grabbed it and embraced it. This white woman singing, you know, soul music, and but she was very criticized for it too, and a lot of the black artists in America criticized her, and a lot loved her. It was very, you know, she had that mixture because but that's just who she was. It wasn't something she was trying to put on. It was something who she was, and I identified with that. It is who I am, and that sound to my voice is who I am. And that's who I identify with. It's not a black or white thing. It's a soul thing. It's a feeling.
That's what they call it, the white, the Queen of White Soul. I mean, the White Queen of Soul, or
right,
something
blue-eyed
like that.
soul
Right.
singer. Yeah, she hated that term, but yeah. Yeah.
Also, I mean, you know, in the '60s, you had a lot of male singers. I think the as far as I can see, or what I remember, like the females didn't really come out the way they are now. I mean, every other singer is a female. In fact, there are almost more female singers. She was like right at the beginning and made such an impact with the few big female singers we had. And I mean, you know, setting up the studio just now, I mean, if people say, oh, I know her. And, you know, I mean, she goes back and she made this impact at that time when, you know, you had a lot of, it was dominated, I think, by male singers at the time. And even like what you were talking about, like the black and white issue, and her, then later on we want to talk about that, going to South Africa and you know, singing in front of a mixed audience. But let me talk to my audience for a minute. I'm here with Kirsten Holly Smith, who is a great performer. In fact, she's in a play which she orchestrated herself. She wrote it, she sings it, she has a monologue going about Dusty Springfield. And for those of you who remember Dusty Springfield, you have got to go and see it, because this is dynamite. You read the reviews and you know you shouldn't miss it. Her voice, Kirsten's voice, is so brilliant. She really knows how to deliver. So again, I'm here with Kirsten Holly Smith, who has a one-woman show of Dusty Springfield, something you don't want to miss. And if you want to find out more about it, please call the number at the end of the show, the number you see on the credits. Okay, let's go on with Dusty. And a little bit about yourself. I mean, you said you've been singing since about 8 years old, and you've been in movies, and you've been in musicals, and then all of a sudden you branched out, you wanted to do something on your own. Wasn't it kind of like scary?
Oh, of course. I think that it was incredibly sort of ambitious.
Ambitious, to say the least, right.
So I, you know, as I said, I had no idea where it was going, and I started very simply, and I said, okay, I'm going to learn the songs, and I'm going to go sing it at the Gardenia, which was an open mic night, and it's a great club on Santa Monica Boulevard. It's Mondays on Tuesdays is where the name of the sort of the open mic, and they have a great pianist there and sometimes a drummer, and I went, and I literally went almost every week, and I waited my turn, and I sang the Dusty songs, and then I would research her life, like I said, and write monologues, and it all just sort of started to come together. Then I got a grant at USC, which helped pay for the charts, and then at USC I had to perform it at Royal Albert Hall. No, that's in London. I wish. It's Alfred Newman Hall. But I sang it, did a workshop there, and it went amazingly well, and I had a wonderful standing ovation, and people loved the show, and yeah, it was just amazing. I had no idea that people were going to respond that way, so it was really powerful, and through that I had another producer see this show, Georgia Fox. She's on CSI, and she wanted to be involved, and so we brought her on board, and then I have Leslie Brockett, who is my other producing partner. She is amazing, and they're just doing, you know, just a wonderful job, and they brought it to John Imparato at the Lily Tomlin Jane Wagner Cultural Arts Center, and he thought, wow, this is going to be great, and just believed in it. And you know, I'm not a star name, and so it's hard to sell a show without a star name.
Well, you should be. You will be. I tell you.
Thank you.
Now you brought with you 2 video clips.
I did.
Quick video clips, brief ones, even so. We want to see them. Which ones are they?
You Don't Have to Say You Love Me, which was her only #1 hit single, and Son of a Preacher Man, which sort of everybody knows is her signature song off of Dusty in Memphis, which is a great album if you get the chance. It's one of the best.
I know. I think she's fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay, and you are too. So let's we're ready. If everybody else is, let's see what we have. fabulous performance, fabulous performance. I want to read a couple of great reviews that I read, and my viewers just should hear that. Smith delivers slam dunk vocals, and you certainly do. I mean, you're right in there, and your performance is great. You have, you know, your movements, everything is great. 13 of Springfield's signature songs delivered by Smith. Unbelievable, you must see it. Smith is captivating, and I feel they are all right, and I feel the same thing, and I've gone, I saw you play with several people, and we all said the same thing, that you really created something that everybody can not identify, but everybody is with it, because a lot of people remember Dusty, and a lot of people know bits and pieces about Dusty. All of a sudden this comes up, that comes up, and this comes up. So let's go into some of the bits and pieces that I have made myself a note of. There is Motown, for instance. She was very much involved with Motown, and she brought she established a European song festival.
She hosted a program in England called Ready, Steady, Go, and it was a sort of a British-American bandstand. And she was so enthusiastic about the black acts coming from America that she wouldn't stop sort of talking about them incessantly. And she brought over and had them on television, which before then it was like, it wasn't, the black acts from America. We say African American now, but then in the 60s that's what they said. But it's black acts coming over from America. They weren't on television like that, but she helped expose a lot of them to England, which influenced the Stones and the Beatles, and sequentially, sort of in that direction. And she just wouldn't stop talking about them, because of course they're geniuses, Right, exactly, Ray Charles, the Supremes, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas were her great friends. She did a duet with Jimi Hendrix. I mean, she just was she would not stop talking about them, and said, you have to see these people, they have to come on, they have to.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
amazing.
She just had a serious infatuation with that sound, as most of us do.
Now let's talk about the other breakthrough. She wanted to give a concert in South Africa. Let's talk about that concert.
She was touring around the world at the time. She had a pretty big career, and she was going to South Africa to give concerts. And Equity would not put in their contract not to play to segregated audiences. And before she left, she snuck in that clause into her contract that she would not play to segregated audiences. And nothing happened, and she got away with it. And she was on the plane, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting away with this, and this is wonderful." And she gets there, and she plays to a couple of mixed crowds, and then she gets the government basically comes and arrests her. And they put her under house arrest for 5 days to stop her from playing to mixed audiences instead of segregated audiences. And she said, well, I signed a contract that allowed me to play to mixed crowds, and it's not my problem that you didn't read the fine print, basically. She did get away with it, and she was the first to sort of start that momentum to banish that ignorance in South Africa. And she got a lot of heat from it, from the press, and Dusty, like, how dare she sort of kind of stand against apartheid,
Right.
And she was just of the thought, she wasn't trying to be political, she was just of the thought, like, well, how could I not? Because it's just incredibly ignorant. And how could I not say something? Because anybody who wants to hear my music can hear it. And they're the people who created the sound. So why wouldn't they want to hear it? And so why wouldn't they be allowed to hear it together as one? These people. And she just found it incredibly ignorant and vile, as it is. So, she just was just like, I'm going to sing to who I want to sing. And sorry. But then, as that snowballed into a very big movement for the music industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, she was a pretty brazen woman.
She was.
She was. Her whole life had a lot of ups and downs, from what I remember, and she was outgoing, and yet there was this little softness, not little, that a lot of people maybe have not seen while she was around, and also, I don't know, she just was an incredible person, and I hate to say she was. What happened to her? I mean,
she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Actually, after her comeback, she had a wonderful comeback, and after the Pet Shop Boys with "What Have I Done to Deserve This," which was #1 in the British charts, and it was a hit around the globe. It was a big hit, and they brought her back to life, and she started touring again, and she was actually doing incredibly well. And then she had "Son of a Preacher Man" on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack in the '90s, and so that really helped boost her into sort of that realm of people noticing who she was again. And then she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she fought it, I mean, valiantly, like just really, really, really did alternative treatment, it just was searching and searching for the right thing to cure herself. And she went into remission for a couple of years, and then she took some trips to Ireland, and on her last trip to Ireland, she was sick and didn't know, but it turned out that the cancer came back, and she came back to England, and she spent the rest of her time before her death in a hospital. But she was given the Order of the British Empire, the OB, and
that is amazing. That is wonderful.
Wonderful.
God.
And then after her death, she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by Elton John, who was a very good friend of hers, 2 months after she died.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, at least we can remember her in such a beautiful way, and getting accolades after her passing. Now, I know you, as I said throughout the show, you've done such a wonderful job. And what do you want to do with this play now? We only have a few more minutes to go, but
okay.
I want to get this in. What are your plans, and what is your next endeavor?
We have an off-Broadway house that's interested in us, and it's called the Zipper Theater, and we would love to do it there. It's just a matter of, what kind of, it takes obviously some capital to put a show up like this, and moving it to New York, and is the New York audience going to like it? So there's that option. There's also regional options where we may take it to a smaller theater regionally, which are, around the States, and maybe workshop it a little more, or do sort of a stage reading in New York and try to get some people there to maybe help finance it or fund it. So I would love to do a movie of it. I would absolutely love to do a movie of it.
You took my next question.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I really would love to do, is do a movie of it. And I'm working, would work diligently on that. I mean, it's just, a matter of getting a screenplay. I think there's been movies in the works, and not everything is quite gelled with them. But I mean, someday somebody's going to do it. So it's a great story. It's such a great story. So somebody's got to do it. And just looking for good representation in Hollywood, and a good agent and manager, and that's always really important, and so to help move the project forward. And yeah, we have great plans, and we'll see what sort of throwing the spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks.
Well, I tell you, if you have a good crew with you, if you have some great people with you, I think you should achieve all this, because the project is great. It has a lot of meat, I would say. And as far as you are concerned, you've put your life and soul in there, for the moment at least. And I think it should go on, and see what happens. And then later on, I know you're so inundated with it right now, but you probably can't even think of other projects at the moment, as far as as far as this is concerned, because that was one of my other questions. Where do you want to go from here? I mean, what do you want to do? But
me personally, I want to do a record. I've written songs and played my guitar for years, and I want to record a record. That's what I want to do next. But this is taking so much energy and focus. It's amazing. Yeah.
Now, I know Dusty was very brazen, and she had she made a mark. And she left a mark, let's say it that way. And what do you tell our audience? What could you tell our audience who have been thinking on the same lines as you have? Oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, but no, that's not going to go over. Now you did it, and you're young, and you didn't even know her in her heydays, and you tackled this project. What would you say to some of our audience? That
I always say, I wish that somebody had come and told me 10 years ago to do my own project. I don't know what it is for somebody, whether it's doing an album writing a short film, producing a short film, getting somebody else interested, but doing your own project, writing a one-woman show, writing your own screenplay, whatever it is for you, it's just do your own thing. Because when you do your own thing, that it really gets a ball rolling and it gets a momentum for other things to happen. I think work creates work. But it's like people, you're in a rat race, and who knows, it's like getting the audition might be, your luckiest day in the world, and you could spend years auditioning and never get anything. It's tough. It's really tough. So creating your own project helps.
Well, Kirsten, I want to thank you
Thank
so
you so
much
much
for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
You go out there. You're tough. You can do
Thank
it.
you.
And because from what in fact, I want to go and see it again because it was so
good.
wonderful. And I have
you.
some friends who want to come with me. And for my audience, it's the hottest ticket in town. You've got to go and see it. Dusty Springfield, her life and her music is performed by my guest, Kirsten Holly Smith. She is fabulous. So please run over there because it's not going to stay in town forever. She will take it on the road, and you don't want to wait until it gets to New York. You want to see it now. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for watching us today. I want to thank Kirsten again. She was a fabulous guest, and she's a great actress, great songwriter. She produced her show, she wrote her show. What else do you want? A terrific person. You should go and see her. And until we have another show, we'll see you again. Bye-bye. It is a terrific show. And,